Hello Sudoku friends, welcome to a hot Sudoku puzzle by SudokuExchange.com. What do we see? We see a 1 blocking over and the 1 blocking up. So here's a 1. We see a 1 blocking down and another 1 blocking over, so another 1 goes here. Now we got 1's blocking up and down, so we know that one of these must be a 1. Also, one of these must be a 1 here. 1 blocks over here and another 1 blocks over, while we have 2 1s blocking down. So here's a 1. We got 2 9s blocking over, so a 9 must go here or here. And we got 2's blocking over here and a 2 blocking down. So here is a 2. Seven blocks over here and 7 blocks down. So we got a 7 here or here. We also have 7s blocking up and down and over. So here must go another 7 in one of these 2 squares. Here we have a 2 blocking across, and therefore a 2 must go in one of these 2 squares, and they block over here. This 2 blocks across, and we got 2 2's blocking up, so a 2 goes here. We got a 5 and a 6 blocking down and up, so 5 and 6 must go in 2 of these 3 squares. The 6, of course, can't go here. But we can figure out where it goes, because we also have a 6 blocking down here while this 6 blocks over. So here is a 6 and that 6 blocks over. This also blocks over, so here's a 6. And a 5 now must go in one of these 2 squares. We also have 2 6's blocking across like so, and 1 6 blocking up. So here's a 6. These 2 6's block here, and this 6 blocks across, so a 6 goes here. Now we got 2 6's blocking across and 2 6's blocking down, so the last 6 of the puzzle must go here. We got a 9 blocking across and a 9 blocking up, so a 9 goes here. Four in one of these 2 squares, and therefore in one of these 2 squares. We're still looking for 1s here, 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 and here. Three, 4, and an 8 for these squares here. Can't do much. We only have 1 3 in the entire grid, I just noticed, and only 2 8s, and only 2 4s, and that is what presents a little bit of an obstacle right now. But let's deal with this 9 now. A 9 must go here. And now the 9 blocks down, and we got a 9 blocking over, so another 9 goes here. And these 9s block up, while this 9 blocks over. Here's another 9, and we now have all the 6's and all the 9s for this grid. At least we know now that one of these must be a 3, and therefore a 3 must go up here somewhere. But if we do a simple count here, we know that we need a 1, 2, 3, and a 5 for these 4 squares. There's a 1, 2, and a 5 blocking this square, which therefore must be a 3. An 8, of course, must go in one of these 2 squares, because this 8 blocks here and this 8 blocks here. So an 8 must go here somewhere, and therefore we have an 8 possibility in these two squares up here. I'm looking at this square here, and I'm thinking it can only be a 1 because it cannot be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or a 9. So it must be a 1. And this 1 blocks over, so does this, and therefore this must be a 1. Now we're looking for a 5 and an 8 in these two squares. And we can't quite do anything about that. But it does tell me, though, no, it doesn't tell me anything. These two must be a 5 and a 2, of course. So the 5 blocks up here, so here's a 2 and here's a 5. I think we had a 2 up here also, didn't we? Yes, because this 2 blocks here. Now this 2 blocks up here, so here's a 2. And now we're looking for a 4 and a 3 here. 4, 3 here, and 4, 3 here, by the way. And a 4, 3 here. What else is missing in this column? An 8. So this is a 4 or an 8. We know that one of these must be a 4, yes. So what's the third one? It's an 8. So 7, 4, and 8 in these squares here. I can't quite solve that yet. 4, 7, 8 here. I am seeing that a 4 must go either here or here. And I think that we also have a 4 here, so I'm going to mark the squares that can be 4s. These squares can be 4s and these also, but I don't think that they are important right now. Of course, this one can also be a 4. There is such a thing in Sudoku that is called a colored chain. The colors are usually, I think, green and blue in the examples that I've seen. The way this works is that you figure out which squares can contain a certain digit. In this case, it is a 4. So let's begin with this one here. And let's make this square a blue square for no other reason, maybe that it is blue already. It points to another 4 possibility here. Remember that this 4 prohibits a 4 from going here. So this 4 points to this 4 here, or the 4 candidate, which now becomes green. There is also a 4 candidate available here. This 4 points to this 4, which now is a blue square. And this 4 points to this 4 here, which is now a green. And if we look at this square here, it can be seen by this square and by this square. That is, this possible 4 candidate can be seen by this candidate 4 and this candidate 4. So the way this logic works is that if a certain candidate can be seen by a blue and a green square, then it cannot be the same value as these two. And why this works is that if this is a 4, then this must be a 4, and this cannot be a 4, and this cannot be a 4, right? If this is a 4, this cannot be a 4. That stands to reason. If this is not a 4, then this is a 4, and this is a 4. And again, this cannot be a 4. So whichever value this has here, whether it's a 4 or not, this cannot be a 4. So we can remove a 4 candidate from this square here. It's a nice little exercise to remember. I will go through it again now. We are just looking at the possible 4 candidates for the entire grid. There's a 4 blocking up here, so one of these must be a 4. One of these must be a 4, but they are not part of the demonstration, but I'll mark them anyway. And this 4 blocks up here, So we can also have a 4 here, here, and here. I will later show why these other 4s aren't important. Now let's mark these as possible 4s and all of these and all of these. So all of these squares are possible 4s. The reason that I'm only marking these two and not these up here is that we have exactly 2 possibilities in this row, and we have exactly 2 possibilities for a 4 in this column. And that is why the chain works. So again, let's call this blue, green, blue, green. This square can be seen by a blue and a green square. Therefore, it cannot contain the value that we are talking about, namely the 4. And let's go through the logic again why this is so. Let's say this is a 4, then obviously this cannot be a 4. We can agree on that, right? But if this is not a 4, then in theory, both of these could be 4s. So let's continue over here. If this is not a 4, it is clear that this must be a 4. And therefore, none of these squares can be 4s, and this square must be a 4. And if this is a 4, then again, this square cannot be a 4. And that's how a colored chain works. A square that can be seen by a blue and a green square cannot contain the same candidate as the blue and the green squares contain. But I believe we do have some ramifications from the realization that this cannot be a 4. So let me mark some more 4s again. And now we are talking about 4s here and here. We cannot have a 4 here, and we cannot have a 4 here. So in this row 3, we can have exactly 2 4 candidates. If we move down to row 7, we can have exactly 2 candidates in the same 2 columns, because we just established that this cannot be a 4. So 4 can only go here, 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 and here. And that is an X-wing. And an X-wing works the way that in these empty squares between the 2 blue cells, we can have no 4. Of course, there is a 4 here, preventing a 4 from going here in the first place. But now look at this square here. It cannot be a 4. And why can't it be a 4? Well, it cannot be a 4 because if this square up here is a 4, it follows that this cannot be a 4, and this must be a 4. And if this is not a 4, then this is a 4. And again, this square cannot be a 4. So we know now that this square cannot be a 4, and that is the whole purpose of showing you this X-wing, because we know that the 4 blocks across here, now we know this cannot be a 4, ergo a 4 must go here. Now these squares have to be an 8 and a 7, and we know that the 7 blocks up here, so a 7 must go here. This 7 blocks across, so a 7 goes here. The last square here has got to be an 8, and that makes this square an 8. We know that one of these had to be an 8, right? Because this 8 blocks up and this blocks over, so one of these is an 8, blocking down, this 8 blocks down, this 8 blocks over, so here's an 8. And these 8s block over, therefore an 8 goes here. We are still looking for a 5 and an 8 here, but since we only need one more digit to complete the row, the 5 has got to go here and the 8 here. That 8 blocks up, and so does this. This 8 blocks over, another 8 goes here. Now these 8s block over, so here's the final 8 of the grid. Up here we are still looking for a 4 and a 3, and this is also a 4 and a 3, and this is a 4 or a 3. So at the moment I don't know how to solve that. Start now with this 5 then at least. And this 5 blocks up, and so does this. This blocks across. Here's a 5. One of these must be a 5, and therefore a 5 must go here or here. But this 5 blocks, so a 5 is bound for this square, while this must be a 3. So now we're a little closer. We had a 3 and a 4 here, and a 3 and a 4 here. these squares must be a 7, 3, and a 4. And these squares must be a 3 and a 7. 3s and 4s and 7s are really... Okay, let's do the 7 up here. And that should help because now we got 7s blocking like so. So here's a 7, and therefore this is a 7. Here now we have a 3 and a 4. 3 blocks down, so finally the 4 goes here and the 3 here. And that gives us a 3 for this square here, and a 4 for this, and this, and a 3 here. 3 also now must go here by normal Sudoku rules. Here is a 4, and that does make this a 4. This must be a 5, and we got 5 blocking down here, so a 5 goes here as well. Here we're looking for a 3, yes, a 3, and therefore a 4 here, and a 3 here. That was nice. We were able to demonstrate an X-wing and a color chain for this puzzle. It's a hard puzzle, and sometimes these puzzles at sudokuexchange.com are easy. Sometimes they are less easy, and this one was a very good demonstration. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you will come back for more soon. Bye for now.